I've just been walking the dog, so my hair's a mess. I just pull my hat off my head. I just finished an activation, and it's too long to go into why the activation was unique. But I had taken my daughter's dog, my grand dog, Kevin, to walk at Veterans Memorial Park. But it's an amazing place to walk because the whole span of the Sandia Mountains and the two smaller mountain ranges is right there, and the sun was just coming up. It was exquisite. And the particular person I was getting ready to do the multi-persona activation with is very bonded to this land. So that's one piece of the story that I feel like I need to get recorded. Why it's being hosted by the Mimsy Project is because the Mimsy Project is part of a landscape of consciousness I term the realms of the beloved. When those of us so long ago, 2010, when we were on the mountain of Shasta, we got to experience these beings who just adored us. It was so strange. We so think we're not adored and so not loved, and don't realize that there's so much fighting for us to remember right. So a series of things has happened to me recently that has to do with Chaco Canyon. But more than Chaco Canyon, I'll give you some highlights so you have a way to relate to this. Because it may or may not be of any interest to you, but it does need to be said. When I was in Damanhur, Italy, I was at a talk where they were talking about the missing archetypes of the feminine. And then I went down to get a Damanhur massage and immediately felt that I had gone into one of the missing archetypes. No language, no words, no cognition, no awareness. Didn't remember reading any words or statements that fit at all what I was present to. And fast forward to a few years ago, I went to Chaco Canyon with Joseph Dominguez. And while I was there, because these type of things happen to me all the time, it's part of my relationship with creation, not part of my look at me events. But when I was out at what's called Pueblo Bonito, and I was standing there were 9 women who were standing there. And they were, it was a long time ago, they were dressed in ritualistic clothing, and the fires were burning in the kivas. And I knew, in my terminology, although I knew it wasn't accurate terminology, they were like alchemists, female shamans, but powerful and beautiful beyond measure. And I was very moved by that because it felt familiar. Not that I'd been those women, but that I would have been able to relate to them. Then fast forward to recently, really honestly in the last few months, I've been going through quite a long period of time since having COVID and lost Lily, where I've actually been quite afraid. And mostly afraid of dying, not because I'm afraid to die, but because I knew I was out of sync, and I knew I'd always dreamed myself in here, and I couldn't get back to my dream, my ability to dream myself forward. And for me personally, given my design, that was frightening. And then I became at the effect of things like finances and health and relationship and everything. I mean, none of it had real meaning. It was just no stress, just high stress, and then anxiety. But underneath it all, I knew that if I could just keep chopping wood and carrying water in the face of it, that there was also something else going on, a remembrance, something that I had either had to forget to come in here, or I had been, our systems are designed to forget. Try reading something of deep memory or seeing a movie of deeply impactful. Try having a baby. Well, within a very short period of time, you forget this deeper webbing of existence we live in. But then something really started to bug me. I was down in Tucson and I realized there was a whole landscape of terms: feminine, female, woman, that I could read about, and it had some validity to it. But there was something else. There was something completely missing that I kept relating to here. I'm in New Mexico. And I'm in basically the Albuquerque is the bottom of a volcano. We can't go any further down except into a tunnel, a lava flow tunnel here. But if there was an earthquake, we'd still be standing. I'm sorry, if there was earthquake, we'd still be standing because we're bedrock. But there was something else, and then something began to happen. I began to watch ancient civilizations as if I was searching for something. And the work Sandra of quantum bioengineering, the work she did, the work Matthias did, it was awakening a remembrance in me, a powerful remembrance for me. I'm not saying it would be that impressive for you, but for me, it was important, to the point that my first attempt to go to Chaco Canyon will be March 2nd through 7th. And why I say attempt is because there's snow or rain, we can't get there. And I'll have to put it off to another time, but I feel them calling. I feel these women calling. And at first I called them shamanic women shamans, which could have very well been what the indigenous people would have titled these women, but they were more than that. They were more than that. They were something that had been forgotten, something that had been destroyed. And I knew it. And then I was watching ancient civilizations, was trying to get a planetary memory back. I just knew, and I recommend watching these things. We usually watch them and objectifying them, and therefore we're looking for truth. But don't look for truth. Look for your own remembrance. Look for your own ability to remember, and to remember what's real for you. We live life as a story. We live as a perception, and it creates story. It doesn't create truth. It creates story, but the stories create the ability to navigate things that have been hidden from view and destroyed. It helps them come back as fundamental pieces of creation here that made this place extraordinary. And something about these women in Chaco, and a clear invitation, the same way that Mount Shasta was an invitation, a clear personal invitation to me to come, that the time was coming for them to surface again. And if you watch on Gaia under Ancient Civilizations, if you go to season 2, episode 7, I believe, it talks about this possibility that this inner earth reality that is etheric, it lives in a dimensional realm, it doesn't live in a physical realm. That there's something about those dimensional realms that are seeking to surface here in our physical realm. It's the simplest way I will try to keep coming back and reporting in on the MIMSI project, because why I'm hosting this from the MIMSI page is because this all started with Shasta, my ability to understand matrices and my ability to watch matrices that once held this earth as part of a greater system of reality with the cosmos. And a lot of capacities came awake in me after the MIMSI's events in Mount Shasta. And that's why these capacities to register dimensional realms and to register activity that we once shared in. We once moved, some of us, between the etheric and physical realms, bringing the etheric capacities back into the physical realm that made life beautiful and sweet and lovely here. So I didn't expect it, but when I took Kevin for a walk, the dog, and I was preparing not only for the multi-persona activation, but also because I know this person loves this area of the world, also to kind of bind her back, to give her pathway back here, etherically, and particularly to the mountain, Sandia. But instead what happened was completely unexpected, and now, for me, beautiful and worth the tell. So I'm going to tell this like a story, not like a truth. I usually do operate like something's a truth because it gives me a way to move with something, a way to engage with something, a way to reestablish relationship with something, and a way to bring something back into existence here. But right now it's just an unfolding story. It doesn't have language, it doesn't have place, we don't have memory, very possibly. I think it's what makes anyone who's female, who is at all awakened, carries a kind of shame, a kind of a guilt. But it's not a psychological guilt, and it's not a karmic guilt where we did something wrong. It's deeper, it's more gripping. It's something that doesn't make sense. And it isn't able to be thrown off, like we talk about women coming back into their power. But what is the original power of the fact this planet is feminine? Why do we know she's feminine? Because she births. That's the fundamental, the birthing mother. So here goes the story. It all showed up in the activation today. When I was getting ready for the activation, the mountain talked to me. She said, this is the land of Shee, capital S dot, capital H dot, capital E dot, capital E dot. That's all I know. But it reminded me of the word banshee. And basically the way it registered resonated with me when the mountain gave me that, this is the land of Shee. This is the land of the screaming woman, the fierce female, but the feminine, not the female biological self, but the feminine primordial birthing female we call Earth or Gaia or Mother. So this is the land of Shee, and that the land of Shee was born of fire. And there were these women that walked the embers, the fire walk we do now. That they walked the embers of the beginning of life here on this this is a volcano. I sit in a caldera. It's probably over 200 miles wide. I'm where the bottom of the volcano is, where it all blew. It all blew up. And I saw these women barefoot, walking on the embers. They were born of the fiery spirit of the planet. They were her fire women. They were her primordial goddesses, not cosmic. And they had been in the underworld. They'd been in the underworld as the earth exploded and as the fire blew and the waters, the floods came. They had been in the caves. I don't know how long. It felt like a long time. But as they birthed these young females in the underworld, and the caves that lace New Mexico and particularly lace the Four Corners. These were female progeny that walked the embers. They fire walked, and they carried the fiery spirit, and they carried primordial capacities of restoring the fire element of this planet. That's why we talk about female leadership, the incredible strength of childbirth, the incredible, often it was the women, not the men, in most of the traditions that took care of the dying. When we go into menopause, we go back into the fire, we go back into the primordial nature of the blood. So that was the message I was given, and then I realized that Chaco is, I'm very aware that there's no doubt in my mind that the rituals done in Chaco before, we don't even know who lived there. And it's unlikely kivas are just places for the horse fire. They're really places that are where the sun can hit, where the fire of the greater sun can hit, and where ceremony is done. But they represent birth. And I can't remember the name of it, but there's a hole in the kivas, particularly in these kivas, that symbolize coming from the inner earth out onto the planet. And I realized I was beginning to get memory. One of the jokes I tell about myself is that I was angry in a PTA meeting because there was a huge amount of bullying in my son's school, and they were going to do a day of learning to be the value of cooperation and relationship. But the football players had won the championship for the state, and so they trashed it. Never happened again, by the way, to celebrate their victory. Violence over peace. And so the PTA president said, "Mrs. Sani, I'm sorry you're so upset." And I said, "This isn't upset, this is passion. The fire. Women are afraid of their fire. Because I think that shame and that guilt, I'm just getting the bare memory. Just the dragon lick of it, tongue coming out and licking it. I think it's because we tried to stop something, and we used our power to stop it, and we ended up destroying. I think it was used against us. Our very power was used against us and against our people. That's what I think. But it's only thought. I don't have it as a full remembrance. The important part for me, given what I am, is the ability to call back that moment and to be able to mitigate our fire energy, to be able to operate. And I think these women, these primordial women, planetary goddesses, I think at Chaco, I think they're asking to come back and blend. I think they're asking to merge with those of us that still carry that template in our bones. That's what I think's happening. By the way, this was not on my palette. This was not anything it wasn't on my agenda. I had my agenda. I completed my agenda at the end of 2021. This really came out of the blue. But it's part of my remembrance. It's part of my recall. And there may be others of you, women, who also have this remembrance and this recall. I don't think our world started as masculine until the masculine gods came. And the genetics point to that, because the genetics in the embryo, the Y chromosome, which makes a child male, is in part of the embryo for 6 weeks from the beginning of the formation of the embryo. And I know that everything that is happening in the feminine, the feminine activist, women coming back into power, but it all has to do with using this fire energy to create and destroy, but without having it turned against us and without us inadvertently turning it against the foundational uh, root of life here. Well, that's my story today. I know there's at least 4 of us going to Chaco. And pretty much we go as our own self for our own awakening and for our own engagements of blending with or our own curiosity maybe, of blending with the women there. So my sense is that foundationally there needs to be 9. That's my sense. But here, I'm just sharing the saga that started back in 2009 when I saw the Mimsies. They weren't called Mimsies, by the way, in the sky. Those faces, those thousands of faces that were able to get through around the mountain to say we're here. We're part of the players of restoring this planet to her right relationship with the realms of the beloved and the cosmos that created this planet and other planets for the beauty of what life could be, not to be enslaved and not to be used against itself to destroy. Anyway, Happy New Year.